get the trifecta. Her husband went to prison. Her daughter gave up her grandchild. And then she lost her job. Then the drinking started. Today, live.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains, wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
It is the 8th day of July in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Recovery Monday, sponsored by Powell CDC. If you're not familiar what Powell is, what's the fancy term? I would call Powell a recovery center, a drug and alcohol recovery center.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Is that all right? And it's owned by the Unity Point people, and they don't. We don't do this show because they sponsor it. We do this show because people like Tammy have a story to share with you, and it is my belief, it is my genuine belief that every story that everybody has in their life is their DNA to their Creator, the God of their understanding, to God. And there's something within that story of Tammy's that somebody else needs to hear. Maybe it's you. And today, you'll get an opportunity to hear that. Maybe God has brought you in front of this podcast or this live radio program or this live webcast program by accident? No, probably not. He probably has you here on purpose. And the folks at Powell, they're not necessarily the spiritual part of that program, but they are the let's get people well. Let's get them telling their stories, because hurt people hurt people. And when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you got to have some place to turn. And Powell CDC is one of those places to turn. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, is watching our chat today. If you log on to webcast1live.com, and there is the program. And if you push the chat button, you can participate in this program via chat. Lila Stafford, who is the Senior Vice President of Worldwide Unity Point. Oh, no, that was an exaggeration.
I said, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, you're one of the counselors at Powell CDC.
Yes. Low man on the totem pole, though.
Yeah, and of course, Father Tattoo producing today. And our special guest is Tammy. And Tammy and I are in the same 12-step program, and we attend one meeting together, and we were just talking before we came on. There are moments in the beginning when you choose to be when you choose to surrender to your Creator and walk down that road of sobriety. And every meeting that you go to, something is added. You learn something new about this culture, about this family, about this program. And I don't know how long I was sober, but it wasn't very long. And Tammy came into a meeting, and I think you spoke first. As I recall, you just jumped right out there and said... You remember exactly what it was?
Well, actually, you were leading the meeting, and you had said, if anybody has a burning desire to drink today and needs to share, please do so. And
I said that?
Yes, you did.
Well, that's a God thing.
It is a God thing, because no one ever says that, and you said it, and probably the only time I've ever heard it. Okay. So that was a God thing.
It was a God thing.
All right. So I had been sober at least a year then if I was leading the meeting. And you did. You popped right out and you said, I'm going to drink. I need help. I need people around me, because if not, I'm going to get out and drink. And I get goosebumps. The women in that group just surrounded you, and if I recall, didn't leave your side for the whole weekend, or at least until the next day.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So how long have you been sober now?
Just over 2 years.
Well, come on, give me the days.
It's February 19th, okay. 2011.
I'll get the days later. And let's go back a little bit. Where's home? Where's born and raised?
Born and partially raised in St. Louis.
Okay.
And then I moved to Mason City in my junior high school age range, and then moved here my senior year in high school. And I've been here ever since.
All right. And were you a party girl in high school?
Yes, pretty much.
Was that hard, though, moving here your senior year?
Very hard. It was very difficult.
Yeah. So you were you drinking alcohol in high school?
Yeah, I started, my first drink was around 12 or 13.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where? Who? What?
Well, it was in Mason City, and it was with my boyfriend at the time, who was a lot older than I was, and a couple other girls, and we drank Purple Passion or Sun Country.
Ooh, we used to do that.
2 liters. And my first drink, I got drunk.
Yeah.
And then it was just the party atmosphere that I liked quite a bit.
The socialness of it. And when you graduated from high school, how had that drinking habit developed?
Well, I think I just partied on the weekend, quite a bit. It was just more of a weekend type thing.
Didn't have a bottle hid in the locker,
No.
or carry it in your purse or anything like that. Okay.
No, it was more of a fun activity to do. I mean, when we were in Mason City, we always went out to the pits and had keggers and
Yeah.
those types of things. And then moving here my senior year in high school, there wasn't that kind of crowd. Everybody was going to the bars because they all had fake IDs, which I did not have at the time. So it was really non-existent, if you will, because I was trying to change my image being here my senior year in high school.
Okay. Trying to change your image from what to what?
Party girl to...
Grown-up, mature woman?
Yeah.
Okay. When was the first incident in your life that even though you may not have known it, everybody around you said, oh, Tammy's got a problem with alcohol?
Well, I would fast forward probably a little bit because I think my family probably recognized that I was drinking, too much, but they chalked it up to what was going on in my life or that will calm down, that type of thing. I think my friends realized that I could drink a lot of alcohol and outdrink them and still function.
How did your personality change? Because you're a wonderfully outgoing, joyous, happy person. What were you that before you got sober?
No, I would say I was vicious.
Really? Wow. Bob, back up. She might turn on you.
I would have a target. I would usually end up with a target in mind of, somebody would rub me the wrong way, and I would probably verbally attack them or, just character assassinate them or do something like that. I mean, I would just, that's how I came out. I was very angry.
Yeah.
Very angry.
So you drank as an excuse so you could get the anger out? Okay.
Probably. I mean, it was more of my escape of what was really going on in my life, so I didn't have to deal with that. And so a lot of times then, if somebody cut me off, I was angry or, I didn't have a lot of serenity then at all.
Peel back that curtain. You said the other stuff that was going on in my life. What is that?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the trifecta, that's really what launched me into my drinking career, that I would say, is that back in 2009, well, actually, I'll go back a little bit. I was a very large person. I had gastric bypass surgery.
Oh.
And so from that, I really just switched addictions, if you will, from food to alcohol. And I really didn't have the capability of handling, since I couldn't eat anymore, I could drink because I knew that very well. And I started doing that. And I just fell for the first guy that came along that actually paid any attention to me. And he happened to be the wrong guy. He had a criminal background and things like that. And he also was a drinker. So, I drank a lot during that relationship. And so through that, then towards the end of that relationship, that's when he had broken the law one more time and he was sent away to prison. And within that same period of time, I had lost my job and my daughter had actually given a baby up for adoption. So within a 3-week period of time, I had just really lost my entire identity. I had nothing to wake up for, nothing to go to, nobody to take care of, because I certainly wasn't looking at myself to do that. So I drank, and I drank very heavily.
Now, did you think you were going to be a grandma and have this baby come home and have this life as a grandmother?
No, what's interesting about that whole situation, other than my job, is it was a good thing that, I call it God removed people from my life because I didn't want, especially my ex-husband, he removed me because it was not a good situation for me and I was not listening to the signs that I should have by making my own choices. So that straightened it out by itself. However, you still have to go through the pain of that, and I didn't want to do that. With my daughter, it was a very good decision for her to do that. We actually met with a family. We did all the right things, but it doesn't lessen the pain of doing that. But she actually had him for about 5 weeks, and then chose to. to do that. So,
but you think that was a good choice?
It most definitely was a good choice. But I didn't have the coping skills to handle that type of.
So when she said, I'm going to give this baby up, was that at 5 weeks, or did she start to talk about that earlier and it was just took a long time to make the decision?
No, we had planned. We had known. We had discussed it, and she had said that's the choice that she had made. So we had actually looked for a family through Catholic Charities, and found the appropriate family and everything. So it was all scheduled to be that way. And then after she had the baby, which every mother is this the right decision or this not the right decision? And she decided that she couldn't do it at that time.
How old was she?
18.
18. Okay.
Tammy, I just want to bring up the fact that you were talking about your bypass surgery. It's not unusual at all for people to switch addictions. Mm-hmm. We get lots of people in that have bypass surgery and then switch the addiction to alcohol or drugs. Mm-hmm.
I never smoked. I mean, somebody'd have a cigarette and I'd have one and I'd cough and I'd put it out. I never. My roommate in college smoked like a chimney, and I just never liked it. 3-4 weeks after I quit drinking, I started smoking.
Yeah.
Now, I was lucky and smart enough and God blessed enough that I gave it up after 2 or 3 months. It was horrible.
Well, I think all addictions start from the same place. You have a hole in your heart, and unless you're going to deal with that, you are going to just switch addictions.
Yeah. Tammy's our guest today on Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. Our guests are Tammy and, of course, Lila Stafford, my co-host, and Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And I have to be honest with you, Bob, for a few minutes on Saturday. Yeah, I thought maybe I wouldn't see you today when that plane went down in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't know how many were dead yet or how many were missing. And I thought, well, here goes Bob out to the D-Mort.
Well, yeah, I was watching that very closely because I saw some D-Mort posts that a plane went down.
Yeah.
So I had to follow that to see what was going on. I was very happy.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Bob is a part of Bob is a forensic scientist in his real life, works for the state of Iowa. And he's part of a national team called the D-Mort team. And whenever there's a disaster, when there's a lot of bodies, a lot of dead people, Bob is called out to identify those bodies. And you've been at Flight 232 in Sioux City, and you were at Katrina, you were at 9/11.
Correct. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm very happy when I don't have to go.
Yeah. Unbelievable stories he's got. Just incredible. All right. So how old are you now when the trifecta hits?
I'm 37.
You're 37 at this time, and this is 09.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And your husband's in prison. What did it do to you, the relationship that you had with your daughter when she gave that child away? Did it strengthen or fall apart?
No, actually, because I got a phone call from the attorney saying that that they're on their way to pick up Brittany and the baby, to give the baby up for to adoption to the same family that we had agreed upon. Would I like to go? So I went, and we signed the papers and came home, and she said, do you mind if I go to the farmer's market tonight, which was a Thursday? And I said, no, not at all. And that was probably the last time I saw her for about 2 years.
2 years? Why?
Variety of reasons. I think she needed.
I'm not trying to get personal. Mom, I'm going to the gas station to get a pack of cigarettes, and you don't see her for 2 years.
Well, I mean, I can come up with a variety of reasons. It's because that's where the house was, where, the baby was. I think because I was her mother, that was another reason. She needed to cope the way she needed to with the decisions that she had made. I was drinking heavily at that point. I wouldn't have wanted to be around me either. Of course, I look at it was completely my fault at the time. And then I found a job a couple months later, and I moved to Davenport. So there really wasn't a home for her to go home to.
All right, Tammy's our guest today, and this is Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. What's your story? Have you come out of recovery? Have you gone to Powell? And you decide after hearing stories like Tammy's that you want to share yours, knowing that in sharing your story comes strength, get a hold of Lila at Powell CDC, and we'll get you on here. And remember, it's not about you telling your story. It's about you sharing your story because somebody needs to hear it. When we come back, the trifecta has hit, and life as we know it is swirling down the drain for Tammy. That's next, live on Recovery Monday. right here on 99.3 KTIA and webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
The dawn of a new era begins.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation, to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
I'm J. Michael McCloy on the 8th day of July in the Lord's year 2013, just coming out of a long 4-5 day weekend for the 4th of July. Hope everybody had a good time. We pray for the people that are in Egypt because there really is something bad happening over there. We're so lucky, and it's funny that happened over the 4th of July because as we were celebrating our independence, as we were celebrating living in a so far a free country, free of most government rulings, we could watch on TV more than one channel. A country which had their leader taken away from them, partially by the American administration, then taken out by the military, and both sides were in the streets fighting. Hundreds of people were murdered and killed, and it's just a terrible situation. And meanwhile, we saluted flags and watched fireworks here in America. So there's a vast difference between a few miles of land here on this place we call Mother Earth. Lila Stafford in the house today from Powell CDC. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And, of course, Father Tattoo producing. My guest is Tammy. At age 37, the trifecta hit. She lost her husband to prison. She lost her daughter to just the way it works sometimes. And she lost her job. But you said you got a job in another town, and so you moved.
Yes.
And didn't that give you an opportunity to start over again and put the plug in the jug and correct that thing in your life?
No, I used that to catapult me into drinking a lot more heavily and able to deal with a lot of that stuff. I moved there because I moved to the Quad Cities, and so I was the only person that I knew. I was a manager, so I couldn't hang out with my team that I had, and I didn't know a soul. So I drank. I just would come home every day from work. By 5:15, I had already stopped by a grocery store, got my bottle, and went home and started drinking.
So now you're going from a social thing to drinking by yourself.
Right, because I didn't know the town.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends there, so I isolated by myself, and it was easy for me to do that because I would talk to my mother earlier in the evening, so then and then wouldn't answer the phone after 7 or 8. So then I was able to hide a lot of things that I was doing.
My husband used to do that with me. Mm-hmm. Call early when he's out of town. Call early. I knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But
He'd call early and then he'd
call early and then he'd go out.
Hit the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was too afraid to go out because I didn't want to get an OWI, and I knew that I would, because I didn't know the town, so I just there was no
Isolated.
reason to know the town, so I just drank at home.
How much would you drink a night?
I would buy a Texas Fifth, a large bottle of, and I would go through one of those every 1 to 2 days.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So
So were you feeling okay in the morning when you had to go to work?
Yes, the strange thing, my effects of the gastric bypass is that it really doesn't stay in your stomach that long. So it immediately, you'd wake up and be able to function the next day and you start all over. So every day was a new start over for your body.
And you didn't drink in the morning? You didn't drink at lunch?
No.
Yeah.
Just every night by 5:15, I would probably already have a drink in my hand. But then I became a blackout drinker, and so I would probably by 8 o'clock I wouldn't know if I talked to you or not talked to you or what have you. I would know that by the next morning by looking through my phone.
Did that scare you, or it just was part of the progression?
It scared me at first, but I just thought, well, okay, that's just how this is going to go. It didn't scare me into doing anything. It just was like, well, I started to hide the phone from myself, hide the keys from myself, do those types of things.
Yeah.
That type of behavior.
So you wouldn't embarrass yourself?
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't call somebody I shouldn't have or
hide the phone from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what that means. Where would you put it that you wouldn't know? Bob, help me. I'm losing my mind here. You'd hide it from yourself.
Tammyism, right? No, I mean, I would leave my, keys in the car and put them in the glove compartment. So that meant I would have to walk down the stairs because I lived on the second floor apartment. And I would have to make an effort to go do those things, and I knew I wouldn't because I would be too drunk to do that.
Okay.
So, and sometimes, I would have two sets of keys and that type of thing, and but a lot of the times I would drunk dial a lot of people, and that's where I go in the attack mode. So I would call somebody up and say, now you did this to me the other day, and just launch into this vicious attack.
Mm-hmm. And they would know you were drunk?
No, I don't think they did, but they knew something was wrong, but they couldn't pinpoint what it was.
They thought maybe mental illness, bipolar, something like that.
Probably, yeah.
This is so weird. This happens a lot, but I don't see that. I only have known you sober. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess there was a little drunk period in there, but I only know you sober, and that isn't who you are. Today, you have tools now to know how to deal with some of that.
Sunday I go to a 12-step meeting on Sunday mornings, and it was interesting. They talk about how the actual topic of the morning was, you lost your job, you lost your kids, you lost this. And I think, really the common denominator that everybody has lost, in my opinion, is, I lost my soul.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was enough. So it didn't matter to me if I lost everything else. It didn't matter to me if I lost my job or anything because I didn't know who I was anymore.
And it's so amazing that what we look like going through that, everybody else could see, but there's no way we'd ever believe it. You hold a mirror up to us, we deny that's what we were.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're in the Quad Cities. You're how long have you been there? And give me an incident. When did something happen that either somebody told you or you knew? There's a problem here.
Well, actually, it was it was either a month on the job or what. Whenever you put me into public after I've been drinking, it's usually a problem. So because I had isolated for such a good time that nobody would notice that I was doing something irradical or bad behavior or anything. So we had an event at work that was up in Minnesota that it was an all managers meeting, and I got drunk that night, and the person that I attacked was the vice president of sales.
You couldn't just pick a waitress or a bartender or a fox wandering around the woods.
I picked the big dog.
And what did you got to tell me what happened? I mean, what can you remember, or what were you
sure
told?
I can. I don't know if I can tell you on air, but I called him some names. He happened to be I guess, bald. So I referenced that. I referenced a lot of things, apparently. I recall two things that I said to him, which of course was in front of the whole, all my colleagues and everything like that. But so that was that evening, and I was escorted back to my room by two HR women. And it was the next morning, and I didn't remember a thing. I certainly didn't. And I was in there having breakfast and everything like that, and my manager had called me, and she's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, "I'm good, how are you?" And she's like, "Okay, anything happened last night?" I said, "No, I went to bed early." And I was dead serious. And then she's like, "Okay." She came to the breakfast place, and she said, "Well, we need to go talk to HR." And I looked at her, and she's like, "Just breathe." And I said, "All right." So on the way there, I met the VP of sales, and I said, "Hi, I'm Tammy. Nice to meet you." And was going on as this is the first time I ever met him. And
you thought this was the first time you ever met him. You were genuine.
Very, very sincere.
This is the stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Very sincere in that, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. I look forward to working with you." I had the professional game face on. And then I walked into the HR meeting and realized, do you remember saying this? And do you remember saying that? And do you remember this? And I said, I wanted to throw up right there in that meeting. And I said, I don't remember that at all. And so that was my first offense, if you will. And so I got a talking to, and then I had to sit in those rooms with with my colleagues, knowing that they knew what I did, and trying to redeem myself. So I walked up to all the individuals and said, I did my apologies as best as I could and things like that. And then the next evening came along, and everybody, of course, was drinking again. And I didn't know what to do because I needed to drink, and I didn't know how not to drink. But I knew if I drank, I was going to get fired, right? Because then that would definitely expose me. And I remember walking back to my cabin just in tears because, first of all, I made a fool of myself. Second of all, I needed to drink. And then what am I going to do? And
you didn't have any alcohol.
I didn't have any alcohol in the cabin, and I didn't know how to get it. So I remember I had, I went through the physical withdrawals. I mean, I was, I had sweats, I had everything, and I was just trying to get everything through that I could to the next day, and which I did. And then, then got home and drank.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew, got
a problem.
But okay, I can hide this a little bit more.
Yeah.
I just don't put me in public. That's what I told myself. Just don't go out in public. Don't stop drinking. Just don't go in public.
It's amazing what our addictive minds will tell us so we can continue to drink and use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you have the issue where we were sitting in those all-day meetings after the event with the vice president, and you thought everybody was talking about you?
Well, yeah, I knew that. I mean, I definitely knew that, and of course, I'm surprised I didn't get fired at that moment. But unfortunately, I think that there were other stories that then topped me. So which took the heat off me from other people did some other things that evening that I wasn't privy to. So therefore, some of the heat came off of me a little bit. But every time the guilt and shame that I then had, because we had a managers meeting every Thursday morning, all that kind of stuff. I was going through my mind going, I don't know how I can get through this, and that made me drink even more.
And did you ever see that vice president again?
No.
Never. Not somebody you made amends to?
No.
No. Did I just remind you of the amend you needed to make?
No, because he was no longer with the company, and so I did not reach out, and so I do a, they call it daily amend. I mean, what I try to do is not to treat people that way,
Sure.
because that's not who I am. That's not how I treat people.
Yeah.
So that's what I try not to do.
And how long did you work for this company?
2 years.
In the Quad Cities?
1 year in the Quad Cities and 2 years. And then I moved. So I moved here then. So after a year of full-fledged drinking, first of all, I got into some more trouble at work because, again, they put me into public. And, of course, I was in the blame game. Like, well, don't put me, don't have me leave my home and I wouldn't have a problem. But then I knew I needed to get back to Des Moines because I knew wasn't who I was. This is how I was raised. I knew better. And so, but I did have it in my head that when I moved back to Des Moines, well, then I'd just stop drinking. I didn't need any help. So I got a transfer back to Des Moines. And then that's when I knew that I couldn't control it because I was blacking out at home. I wasn't reaching out to my friends again. And so then I was doing the same routine in my house.
Same house?
Same. Yeah. I didn't sell my house. And so,
Yeah.
So I stayed. So I was doing the same routine. I would not talk to somebody from Friday by 4 o'clock till Monday morning.
Wow.
Are there other alcoholics in your family? I mean, were you educated about the disease at all? Did you suspect that you were alcoholic? Or you just
I
had a
knew.
drinking
Yeah, I
problem?
knew at that point I was an alcoholic. I just, I was still punishing myself for everything that I still believed that everything was all my fault.
It's Tammy's story, and we'll hear the rest of it when we come back. This is Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC, powered by webcast1live.com.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seemed like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Twenty 22 minutes before the top of the hour on the 8th day of July in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for being here. Brad Zahn with us tomorrow with Tom Coates. We'll talk about the legislative session and what we didn't get accomplished. And no, we probably won't be talking about Branstad speeding down the highway. All the liberals are crazy right now. He's a lawbreaker. He should be in jail. And Wednesday, if you haven't attended Testify yet, we invite you to. Testify is a part of the Des Moines Christian Business Association, and we meet at Incredible Pizza from about 11:45 to 1 o'clock on the first Wednesday of the month. I know this is the second. Last week was inconvenient, but I have a very special guest for you tomorrow, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Garland Scott. And if that name does not ring a bell, maybe you recall the Faith Initiative put in by the first President Bush, kind of let alone by the Clinton years, and then rejuvenated by the second President Bush, and also continued kind of behind the veil with King Obama. But Dr. Garland Scott was on the board of the Faith Initiative in Washington, D.C., and so he'll be speaking to us. His speech or his conversation is entitled, "Does America Still Believe in God We Trust?" Because as you, whatever side of the political side you're on, you know that that's changing in our country, and God is being pushed out more and more and more. And if you thought it was just your imagination, it's not. God is disappearing from the public world by the liberal left because they say that's what the Constitution says, and they're wrong. But we'll hear why with Garland Scott Wednesday at Testify and Incredible Pizza. All right, Tammy's my guest today. So you've moved back to Des Moines, and your drinking career is at full steam.
Full steam.
But still only at night and isolated.
Nights and weekends and very much isolated.
Okay, even weekends, you didn't go to the bars and have fun with the girls or anything?
You know, rarely, because here's the deal. I mean, I could spend, $15, on a bottle of vodka and some Crystal Light, if I can say that, and and have my own little party at home versus spending $40 or $50 needing a ride home, things like that. Yeah. So why go through all that trouble, and I'll just stay at home. Besides the fact I didn't want people to know how much I could drink at that point.
Were you past that Texas Fifth?
I was close. I mean, there would be about an inch and a half left, but I was So I mean, it was getting really brutal.
Okay. And what was going on inside of your soul? What were the conversations you were having with the God of your understanding?
I don't know if I was having conversations with the God of my understanding. I was certainly having conversations with myself that, I was a loser. I mean, why would ever anybody want to be around me? And if they found out who I was, how much I drank, they wouldn't want to be around me. And, I was in this vicious cycle of myself, and then putting my costume on every morning and going to work and putting on a face to say, my life is good. All the while, I hated myself. I just absolutely hated myself.
One of the things that I discovered, and it was brutally sobering to me, is I thought I had this really cool relationship with God, because he'd tell me things, and some of the things he'd tell me would be more conscience-driven rather than supportive. And when I shared that with a really good friend of mine one time, he stopped me and he said, God would never say that to you. God would never say you're a loser, that nobody wants to spend time with you, that everybody's in. That's the voice of the deceiver, Satan, the accuser. Mm-hmm. And so when I first heard that, I'd been sober probably about a year. I had to rethink. I had to change all my thinking in my head, because I thought all this time it was God telling me that I wasn't good enough, that I was a drunk, that I was a loser. And in fact, God loved me just the way I was, defaulted, broken, character defects, alcoholic, and everything. And it was the accuser that was making me feel bad about all that. And when I got rid of that, my sobriety just took up. Mm-hmm. I was just amazing. It was
You know,
like
I find
it
that-
wasn't hard anymore to be sober.
That most people that are out drinking don't even think about God. I know you had a different experience.
Yeah.
But most people don't want to take God down that path.
Mm.
So they kind of leave him behind, and then they can do whatever they want.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Now, what I do remember is I remember one night, this was during the winter, and I have a gas fireplace. And so I remember I put the gas on and I had lit it. And then, of course, I blacked out and I woke up to, I could have blown myself up. And I remember saying the Lord's Prayer several times, and I would say that every night. That's the only thing I would know. I mean, I can't quote Bible verses even today. I can't. But what I can do is say the Lord's Prayer 1,000 times over. And this is what I didn't know where to turn. And I remember I had prayed to God and said, I don't know what to do. And the only voice that said in my head was Powell. And I was like, okay. So
where had you heard of Powell?
Through my ex-husband. He had gone through Powell.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the back of your mind, you think that God was reminding you that there was a place out there you could go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
tell me about that event that brought you to Powell.
Well, I got in trouble for the last time at my employer. And really, they said, you have an alcohol problem. And I knew at that point I needed to admit it so then I could use that so I wouldn't get fired. So first time I could use my alcoholism as a benefit or leverage it. And said, well, then I need to go into treatment. But, in the back of my mind, I knew that, that's that 2 nights before, that's when I got the message about, you need to go to PAL. And I went down to PAL and I did my self-assessment or did the assessment that you do. And they said, well, you can do outpatient. And that's where then, my first treatment really started, was that, and said, okay, well, you'll go, Monday through Friday, whatever, 5 to 9 and stuff. And so that's where my treatment started. But there was still back that this wasn't going to work in my head because, it didn't change. Just taking away the alcohol didn't change what my life was like, which I didn't have any friends. I didn't, I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't know what to do with my time.
Still had no relationship with your daughter again?
No relationship with my daughter. I had a relationship with my parents, throughout this, time. But how can you have a really deep relationship with your parents when they don't know the hell that you're going through?
Yeah.
And I wasn't about to share that with them because I was afraid that, that would put the nail in the coffin, that I wouldn't be their daughter anymore. That's how bad I thought I was. And I would still drink on the weekends because what do you do with your life? What do you do with yourself from Friday to Monday?
So you didn't drink when you came home from outpatient at night?
No, not Monday. I didn't in the beginning. I would definitely drink on the weekends, but then it slowly started to go back up and started drinking again, and so I completed the outpatient with Powell and everything, and I think. And then I had what had happened was here's my moment of clarity. My mom had asked me to babysit my 2 little nieces at the time. One was 3 and one was getting 1. And I had gone up there that Saturday, and my parents are normal drinkers, and what I mean by that is they'll buy a 4-pack of the small little 4-pack of wine that you only get 1 glass out of a bottle. Well, I had like 22 of those.
Oh my gosh!
That night, and it was just a regular Saturday. I didn't need it to be anything else than that. But and I blacked out, and the next morning, Mom said, I want to talk to you about your drinking. And I just lost control. I just, I couldn't hide it anymore. I mean, I was exposed. And I remember, my little niece, Allie, was dancing around and I'm holding Gracie in my hands. And I looked at her and I said, I don't think I would commit suicide, but I wouldn't mind being dead right now. And I said, that's how bad it is.
What's Tammy's life like now? That's the amazing story. She'll share that with you when we come back. Lila Stafford in the house, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. Produced by Father Tattoo, and I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on Recovery Monday, powered by webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
It is the 8th day of July in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Recovery Monday here on KTIA 99.3 as well as webcast1live.com. Tammy is our guest. All right, so hiding who you are from everybody. Husband goes to prison. Daughter has a child that she gives up for adoption. You lose one job, get another one, but again, you have to hide behind this mask of who you really are because little itsy bitsy pieces of you come out in front of these people. And then all of a sudden you go through Powell and you get out of Powell and you have an experience where you're taking care of a niece and a nephew, or two little nieces. And you black out. And then your parent, how did your mom figure out that there was a problem?
Well, she watched me.
She was home?
I watched her with my nieces.
Oh, I thought they were out somewhere.
No. It was my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, were out, and so Mom and I were supposed to be watching my nieces, and so she witnessed my destruction right in front of her face.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And you had no idea you were doing that in front of her?
Oh, I did.
But you didn't care.
I couldn't control it.
Oh, you couldn't control it.
I couldn't control it.
You cared.
I cared, but there was nothing I could do about it. And talk about a God thing. I mean, there's a reason why she had to see it. So then, so she would know how bad it was. And I was exposed at that point.
And was that the bottom?
That was my bottom.
Okay. It was saying, I don't know if I want to commit suicide, but I wish I were dead.
Right.
And you really felt that way?
I really felt that way. That's where I was. I was dead inside.
Yeah. Did she know that? Did your mother know that you had gone through Powell?
No. She had said, you probably, is there somewhere you can go? And I had told her, I said, you don't even know how bad it is. I said, I went through treatment and I still drank. And I knew that was bad. And I knew telling her that was bad. I mean, like, who goes through treatment and drinks? That's how bad of a problem. I mean, that was shameful to me right away that I couldn't go through treatment without drinking. And she said, there's got to be one person. You just need one person that you can call. And I had remembered I had gone to a 12-step meeting one morning, This was earlier after Powell, and I'd gone to a couple meetings, and I remember sitting next to this gal, and she was like, well, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm at a meeting. And she's like, well, did you drink last night? And I go, yeah. I mean, I'm like, isn't it the desire to not drink? And that was my first sponsor, because she called me on she knew, and I couldn't hide it from her, and I needed somebody that
held you accountable.
Yes, and that I couldn't lie to. I didn't want to lie to anybody else anymore. I didn't want to do that.
Did she smell it on you? How did she know?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't really care how she knew. But and Mom had said, why don't you give her a call? And I said, okay. And I called up Linda that next morning. I made a commitment to my mother that I would call this woman as much as I didn't want to. And I called her and I said, can we have lunch after the meeting? She said, sure. And we sat down, and she was the first person that really asked me, oh, how are you doing? And I, gave her, all this other, and she's like, no, how are you doing? And then I just unloaded and said, I can't figure this out. I can't do it. I'm an educated woman. I said, how does this bottle of vodka have this big of a hold on me that I can't even function through the day without thinking and drinking? And so she laid out a plan every hour. This is what I was going to do that day. And I went to three meetings that day. And that was the start of my journey of going through everything I needed to go through. So going through it, starting it.
And at what point did the desire to drink go away?
I drank one more time. So that was in January, and I drank in February. So my last drink was February 18th, because I drank at somebody. One of my girlfriends. I used it as an excuse to drink, and I realized then, because I blacked out. I did everything that I did, without drinking for almost 90 days, and realized then, okay, this isn't going anywhere, and so I started really working the steps that I needed to work, and started my relationship with my higher power at that point.
And what was was it a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience? You've been raised Catholic?
No, I was raised Methodist. But I did believe I always had a connection with God. I really did. I really could have conversations with him. And I guess I opened that door a little bit to say, okay, help me through this. And I would say I did have one of my first spiritual awakenings was certainly soon after that. I was going to a Tuesday meeting, and I remember I was sitting there and I had said, I only had, a couple of days or a couple of weeks at that time. And this is what I call my spiritual awakening, is that the topic of conversation I thought was seriously directed right at me. And then the gentleman next to me had mentioned, they were actually talking, it was talking about affairs, if you will, and then the next person started talking, and I swear I'm thinking they were looking right at me like they're saying, this is you, this is everything about you and everything. And I remember coming home and I called my sponsor, and I said, can you have a spiritual awakening in a meeting? Is that where this happens? And she said yes. And what the spiritual awakening is that I finally realized that I could stop self-sacrificing myself for, somebody else's happiness or to please somebody else. It's like it was now my turn to choose me, and that meant not drinking, and that meant choosing me to be healthy. For the first time, I realized that it's okay to, choose yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas, most people think that you're choosing yourself when you're drinking. Well, that's not. I looked at it differently.
Now, you recently got married.
I have.
And look at that smile. You're on radio. I wish you could see that smile. He's also in the program.
Yes, he is.
And do you support each other, or do you keep those programs separate?
No, we absolutely support each other. I think one of the greatest blessings that I've had is that he works a very strong program, I work a very strong program, and then therefore we work a strong program together. Now, of course, we both have our own sponsors, and we have decided, when we first started dating, to put, if somebody's in need, to put that first. Sobriety comes first, and then we come second.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
And do you go to meetings together?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Well, we hope to meet him sometime.
You will.
We'd like to hear that. Tammy, thank you very much. Something you said today made a difference to somebody, I have no doubt. Made a difference to me. So I appreciate you sharing your story. And Lila, thanks for bringing Tammy in. Next week, is that the week you're gone? No, Nick and Lila next week. And Nick is a counselor.
No, he's not a counselor. He's the front desk person.
Okay, but he has his own story about sobriety and going through.
He went through Powell
and
then worked there.
Bob, I will see you soon. Thanks for being back here, and I'm so thankful you didn't have to go to San Francisco. And Father Tattoo, thanks for being here. Until tomorrow with Tom Coates and Brad Zahn, do one thing for me tonight before you go to sleep. Close your eyes and just pray.